G'day, everyone. Well, this is one that I have absolutely been looking forward to. And I'm catching up with a buddy, a colleague, a fellow in the trenches, and that is a buddy of mine called Craig Turton. Everybody knows him affectionately as Turts. Turts, welcome to Saving Brothers. How are you?
Robbo, I'm extremely well. Been looking forward to this all day, mate. How are you going out of 10?
I let you go for that one because I'm going to say it right now, brother. I was sitting at probably a solid 8, but I've just hit a 9.5 knowing that we're getting together. And I
Nice.
couldn't steal your limelight and ask that question because, friends out there, brothers, Craig is the man behind the initiative of, hey, brother, how's your day going out of 10? It was you, brother, that taught me that. And we collaborated and we talked about it. So I'm actually sitting at now, I've hit the 9.5. Hey, brother, how's your day going out of 10?
Mate, to be honest, I had a very, very frustrating 6.5 today, around about 6.5. I'm a tradie, and in Melbourne, we're quite restricted on what we can and can't do. A couple of jobs weren't ready to go, going from job to job. And in the end, I pulled the pin at about 1 o'clock and went, you know what? I'm out for today. That's it. Park that to one side. But since then, I've been up and about. I've probably been an 8 or a 9. And I want to go back to that later and talk about why that happened, why I've gone and how I've gone from a 6.5 to up to sort of an 8 or an 8.5, 9.
Yeah, well, one of the boys has already chimed in. He's at a 7.5. And I think any time you're at a 7.5, that's solid. You've got to be happy with that.
Absolutely.
Sure. And guys, let us know how you are. And as you know, Turts, over the time that we've been involved together with Saving Brothers and 100 Words Made to Mate, and I'm going to fire some questions about what your organisation's about, where the name came from, etc. But it's so much fun asking blokes that because we can actually deep dive and really get into what's actually going on in a bloke's head. And I want to make a disclaimer, and you and I just spoke about it offline, and that is that neither of us are psychologists.
No.
We are not professionally trained. We're just two blokes that care about men.
Yeah,
we care
absolutely.
about people. And that's the bottom line. And one of the brothers just wrote, COVID is tough in Melbourne. We were just talking, guys, just offline about the impact. I mean, you being a commercial painter, I was talking to you about one of my clients. He runs a maintenance company. And for example, he's got 5 maintenance guys working on sites. 4 of them don't want to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Now, I'm all about pro-choice, but this is the difficulty when you're an employer, as you are.
Yeah.
And that creates more stress having to navigate what's going on.
Absolutely. It's I'm hearing some horror stories about employees, not wanting to get vaccinated, and employers got his hands tied. He's just being told what to do by the government. But look, it's crazy times, mate. Hopefully we'll look back on this in hopefully less than say 5 years and go, wow, what a speed hump it was, but we got through. And it's even more important due to what we're going through that guys like yourself and all the boys at 100 Words Made to Mate are doing this sort of stuff. You and I constantly talk about this is not a competition, okay? This is about more and more men getting out and listening and getting advice on how to receive help and how to get help. And that's what it's all about for you. It's what it's all about for us. And as I said, if we will definitely, I've done plenty of these and so have you, someone will take something away and we will help them. That is a guarantee. Absolutely. And if nothing else, if they just take away that they ask someone how their day is out of 10, that'll be enough for me, for sure.
Absolutely. I think that is the gift that we can give, for sure.
Yeah.
We're already getting some of the guys making some comments, and there is a link that you should be able to click on if you want your name to be visible. The reason we don't call you out and say, oh, g'day, Mark, or whomever, is because it's not coming through on our screen, but there is a link that you should be able to click if you want to come out and let us know who's made the comment. COVID is definitely tough in Melbourne. One of the brothers has just said he lost a brother yesterday with COVID, and worse still, he was only 30 years of age. Yeah. This is the thing. People, the naysayers out there, and I can tell you stories myself. Personally, I've got people very close to me who have lost, in fact, a friend of ours, I won't say who it is, someone I'm very close to, had a cousin in England, was offered a respirator 4 times in hospital. No, I don't need one. Nah, give it to someone else. died the next day. So
Wow.
for those people that say it's BS, it's a conspiracy theory, I know other people that have almost died from it. So let's just do the right thing, hey? None of us want this. I think we need to get real. And as one of the guys just said, yeah, it makes COVID very real for him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm like you, mate. I hear a ton of these sort of stories. So that's why this sort of stuff's really important, because it costs you nothing, Robbo. We talk about this stuff all the time. It costs you nothing to ring someone and ask them how their day is out of 10. Absolutely nothing. And you can change a life by doing it.
You can not only change a life, but you may even save a life.
Absolutely. I've heard plenty of stories about guys who have rung other guys just at that moment where they were literally in the midst of attempting to take their own life and have received a phone call. It's chilling to think that that would happen, but it does. I've heard far too many times that has happened. The power of making a phone call and giving a shit about someone else, which costs you nothing, does make a huge difference.
Turts, as you were saying that, I am no joke, brother, and you know me pretty bloody well. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm getting emotional just listening to that, because this is the thing. You and I both know we've been around this place, this earth, long enough now to know that we are the great imposters when it comes to men at burying stuff and hiding our real feelings.
Yeah,
As one of the brothers just
absolutely.
said, one phone call can save a life, 100%.
Yeah, no doubt about that. There is not a truer statement than that there.
Yeah, totally agree. And what I want to do, I mean, I know the story about 100 words. I've been to one of your events when we were out of lockdown, and we'll talk about that one because that was a very, very life-changing event for a number of people at that event. Big time. And I don't exaggerate with that at all. What is 100 words mate to mate? Straight off.
We are a non-for-profit men's health foundation, raising awareness around men's mental health and trying to reduce the stigma. Our aim is to create a national network of active local communities to improve men's mental health and reduce suicide. Okay, so we do that through running a series of events and having real, open and honest conversations with men in the community. Now, 100 words mate to mate started. It started with there's 5 of us involved. There's 2 tradies, 2 guys in IT, and a consultant. Okay, so none of us are educated as in regards to psychologists or psychiatrists. Okay, I paint houses. Okay, so the beauty of this is what we're doing at 100 words, and no different to yourself at Saving Brothers, is anyone can do what we're doing. Okay, so the reason and the way we started is I got invited to a men's health night about 3 years ago now, and I had to pull out at the very, very last minute. I got invited by a good friend of mine, and I was going with him and all his mates. Anyway, he rings me up the next day in tears and said, last night I went to the most amazing event. I wish you had been there. I want to tell you about it. And this is what happened. It was at Crown Casino. There was 1,000 guys at Crown Casino. If anyone knows that in Melbourne, it's a massive casino. 1,000 guys. The guest speaker says, I want every man in the room to stand up. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. When the question does not relate to you or the answer is no, just sit down. So when I tell this story, I always ask people to do this. Picture yourself with you and your 9 other mates from work or 9 other guys you used to play footy with or went to school with or whatever, okay? Question 1. Stay standing if you've ever had a bad day at work. So you can imagine the vibe. Everyone's sort of messing around. Yeah, I've had a bad day at work. Yeah, we've all had a bad day at work. 1,000 guys still standing. Question 2, stay standing if you've ever had a fight with your wife, your girlfriend, your partner, your boss, or significant other. Yep, we've all had one of those. Question 3, stay standing if you've ever had, if the best day of the week for you is a 3 out of 10. And you sort of got guys looking around at each other going, what? And the guy says, I'll repeat the question. Stay standing if the best day of the week for you is a 3 out of 10. And a lot of guys sit down. But there's a lot of guys still standing up. The mood has changed in the room. Question 4 was stay standing if you've ever had thoughts about taking your own life. So imagine you're sitting there and your mate, who you played footy with, went to school with, whatever, is still standing. That's happening all over the room. You can't hear a thing in the room apart from tears and shock. Question 5 was stay standing if you've attempted to take your own life once. And question 6 was stay standing if you've attempted to take your own life twice. In the room of 1,000 men, there's 4 brave men still standing. The guest speaker goes up to the guy closest to the stage in random order and just says, "Mate, what's your name?" He said, "My name's Thomas." It's all right, Thomas. Who are you here with? And he was on a table of 6. So he's there with his 5 best mates. And the guest speaker says, "Let me get this straight, Thomas. You don't know me, the guest speaker. You don't know 994 men in the room. So why, when I asked you, have you tried to take your own life twice? Why did you tell me and 994 blokes you've never met?" And Thomas just sits there and says, so stands there and says, "Because you asked me," and broke down. The guest speaker turns to Thomas's 5 best mates and says, "Which one of you 5, if any, thought that your mate Thomas here was struggling?" And 3 of the 5 put their hand up. And this was the bit that got me. This is what changed everything for me. One of them put their hand up and said this: "I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to say." And I thought, that's me. I know my mates are struggling, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know what to say. And that changed everything for me. From that point on, about a week later, I sort of handpicked 4 other guys that my kids go to school with, so they're school dads in the local area, and I took them out for dinner, all with different skill sets, and I told them that story. We left that restaurant that night because one of the boys said, "Oh, what are we going to do?" And we said, "Oh, we need to do something. We're not leaving here until we decide what we're going to do." And a couple of beers and a couple of wines later, we wrote down that we are going to start a men's health charity called 100 Words Mate to Mate. And we did. Simple as that.
You know, Turts, every time I hear that story, the emotion wells up, because I would hope the brothers that are listening just can visualize being in that room and thinking, that's me, maybe, or that's a buddy of mine. And I think that's the thing, is I think every one of us really can relate to that, because male suicide or thoughts of suicide has impacted and affected every one of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah,
I think
it's not. So I always think about the guys that sat down at every one of those questions, right, from question 3 on. If they did it again at the end of the night, how many people would stand up then? I reckon there'd be twice as many after seeing, someone show their vulnerability and stand up. And that's exactly what we do at our events. So the way our events work is we had a foundation event where there was 104 guys that we invited, and we had guys there that had been through real life mental health stories, and tried to commit suicide and all sorts of different things. And they stood up and told their story. And it was no different to the event that you ran. But what I'm going to explain is how we got from the very, very first event to your event is, so these guys have stood up and told their story. And then I've just grabbed the mic and gone, all right, who wants to, this is an open mic. We weren't going to do it. I'm like, you know what? Stuff it. This is an open mic. If you feel comfortable in telling your story about what's happened to you, jump up on stage and let's go. No one did anything for about 20 seconds, which felt like about 5 minutes when you're up on stage. And I'm like, okay, that's all right. Well, and guy goes, I'll have a go, and stood up. We had 3 guys stand up that night and talk about, one of them had lost his apprentice 3 weeks earlier and had never told anyone, hadn't even told his wife, but felt vulnerable enough and powerful enough to show, just talk about it. And he was, everyone wrapped their arms around him. And we had a guy who had fought it in Afghanistan and had suffered from PTSD and told his story. Mate, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. After that night, phone rang the next day, and really good mates of mine rang me and said, can we run an event like that in a suburb, 10 minutes down the road from where we were. And I went, yeah, why not? So, the boys, Maddie and Steve-O and Dan, ran an event in Mitcham, 165 guys. It was an unbelievable night. Same thing happened. So these two guys that came to our event ran another event. And so 165 guys in Mitcham. We had, I think, 9 guys stand up that night. It went for like an hour and a half of guys standing up. Like, you stood up, mate. Like, I hadn't seen you for probably the best part of 10 years, I think we worked out. You got up and told your story. And it was such a powerful thing to do. And the more men that stand up and talk about this stuff in front of other men, it just encourages other men to do it. We've got a saying at 100 Words Mate to Mate. To be vulnerable takes courage. It takes courage to... Okay? It's such a powerful thing, and you were there. It's such a powerful thing to watch and spill that to people they don't know. It's staggering. If you give men the vehicle in which to speak, they will. That is a guarantee. So that's what we do. We run these events, and clearly COVID has put a real dampener on that and made things really, really hard. So we ran a series of interviews last year. We spoke to Melbourne Cup winning jockeys, guys who have won Bathurst, John Bowe, Australian tennis player Sam Groth, all these different celebrities. We also spoke to everyday dads who had had marriage breakdowns, testicular cancer, bowel cancer, all this different stuff, and talked about what they went through, where they ended up, right down in the in the depths of despair, take their own life. They get better. Now, one of the reasons they ended up getting so low is that no one, or they felt, people didn't give a stuff about them because people didn't listen to them. So, but we've had guys that have gone from attempting to take their own life to swimming. One of our guys is a marathon swimmer. Of all the things to turn to, Robbo, he turned to marathon swimming to get him through. That wouldn't be in my top 100 things to try to get myself better. But that's what works for him. So it's not one hat fits all, as you and I know. It's about trying different things and listening to your mate. So, yeah, that's how it started. It's an emotional story. It changed my life. I can honestly say that. I was a very, very black and white person before that. But I'm a lot more compassionate now than what I've ever been, for sure. And I think I think I'm a better bloke for it too. I'm certainly a better husband and a better father, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it because I know you had your own moment where you were really challenged, and I'd like to. I'd love to have a chat around that. But I think the beauty of the energy in the room, as men start to see that it does take courage for the first fella to get up, no doubt. And I can tell you myself, when I got up and spoke that night, my heart rate, my heart was thumping out of my chest, because other than probably about half a dozen guys out of 165, I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
And I sat on a table, didn't know anyone on the table. And as you know, I got a ticket at the last minute because it was sold out. And you and Maddie did me a favour to get me a ticket. And thanks, boys, for that. But it was a really life-changing event. And it was also, for me, it was the start really of you and I discussing about, and I know COVID's gotten away for the moment, how you and I have talked about running some events together.
Yeah.
Like Buddy in the Bush, for example, and some of the mental health events that we want to get together and do, and which we will absolutely get once we get out of this little bit of a lockdown challenge. I often say to people, Turts, I renamed Melbourne COVID County. So, yeah, that's my one. Tell me, why is it called, your organisation, 100 Words Mate to Mate? Give us the story, the backstory.
So there's a serious part and a quite a humorous part. The humorous part is when we were sitting down at the restaurant, we're actually at Squire's Loft just down the road in Mitcham, which is for those who don't know, is a steakhouse. And we were all eating 100-day grain-fed beef, right? So, we're talking about what we're going to do. One of the boys goes, so what are we going to call this thing? And I said, well, Are You Okay, who are an amazing organisation, right? And have brought so much awareness to what we're trying to do. But Are You Okay, I think, not the organisation, I want to clarify that, is the problem. Are you okay? Yep, good. How are you? Yeah, good. That's it. So what we thought is, okay, 100, what about 100 words? So it promotes to have a conversation, not just how are you. It promotes to say, 100 words to your mate, and have that conversation. And that's where, how's your day out of 10? To start that conversation which is quite often the hardest thing. We just thought, going back to those questions, question 3 at Crown Casino was, stay standing if the best day of the week for you is a 3 out of 10. And we sort of went, okay, well, okay. So if guys ask each other how they are out of 10, that will promote a conversation. Really easy question. But this is what happens. I say, and you would probably find this. I say to a bloke, "G'day, mate. How's your day out of 10? Yeah, good. Sorry? Well, mate, how's your day out of 10? 10 being fantastic, 1 being terrible. Oh, yeah, not bad. No, mate, you need to give me a number. Oh, okay, 7. Why is it a 7? Because of this. Okay, so what does a 2 look like, mate? Oh, a 2 is, and you'll tell me. Okay, so what does a 9 or a 10 look like, mate? Oh, a 9 or a 10 is this. Bingo. In 3 questions, how's your day out of 10? Why? What makes you a 2? What makes you a 10? I've got all this information. Okay, so if I know my mate's a 2 and what triggers a 2, and I know what makes him a 9 or a 10, 9 or a 10 can be simple as, mate, I just love getting out and playing golf or going for a walk. Let's go do it. So much information can be gathered in a couple of simple questions. So it's inevitably, and this is what you and I talk about, is blokes go, "G'day, mate, how you going? Yeah, good. How are you? Yeah, good. Yeah, you sure? Yep." And that's it. Like, that just took 6 seconds, right? And then what happens is guys go, "Oh, I asked Tomo how he is. He's fine. He told me he was good." You haven't asked Tomo anything, okay? Guys do that, and we've been doing that because our fathers did that, and we watched our uncles do that, and that's what's happened over time. Like, things are different now. If you ask a guy, and you've done it, I've done it, I've got every number between -2 to 15.5 turts. Okay, talk me through, why are we -2? Because I'm thinking about taking my own life. I've given up. Bang. It's not an easy thing to hear, but guess what? I'm so much better for knowing so I can help than going to the guy's funeral because I didn't want to ask the question. So that's happened to me quite a few times. I don't know if it's happened to you, Robert, but I've had that happen where guys have said to me, "Mate, I'm ready to tap out."
Yeah, I have. And it's not an easy thing to hear. And it's confronting.
Yeah, it is.
But I've got to say, when you feel that guy is making some positive baby steps to hang in and make some changes and feel loved and acknowledged and validated, like you said, the Crown Casino example is a perfect one because you asked.
Yeah,
because you asked
exactly.
the question, and that's the absolute thing. So I'm going to ask you this one because we talked about the events, and I think give guys a sense of the sort of people that got up on the panel, because you had an interesting cross section with drug issues, different sorts of people. Give the guys a bit of a sense of what they would expect from the panelists and the type of people on the panel, and how your events run.
Yeah, so we've had...
But sorry, before you answer that, Turts,
Yeah.
I don't want people to think, hey, this is a night where everyone just gets on the gas and starts drinking heavily. It's not about that at all.
No. So all our events are on a Thursday night. We never run anything on a Friday or Saturday night because the mindset on a Thursday night is I've got to get up and go to work the next morning, versus it's Friday night. We'll get out, we'll have a few drinks, we'll go to this event and, whatever. It's a different mindset on a Thursday night versus a Friday or a Saturday. None of our events are open bar. It's always controlled alcohol because, as we know, alcohol is a trigger for people with depression and anxiety. And a lot of people use alcohol to mask what they're going through. So we're very, very sensible and conscious. And that's one of our number one rules around not having, unlimited amount of alcohol. We also have mental health first aid officers, trained professionals on site. The ratios generally work on about 1 to 40. So we always make sure we've got those people on site. We always mention who they are, because if any time, because as you can imagine, it's a very, very emotionally charged night. And it's not just emotional for those guys who stand up. It's very, very emotional for someone who hasn't been through anything to watch someone stand up there and spill out their guts and go, oh my God, like that poor bastard. So it's, people leave and take all different emotions out of it. My phone rings, and so does everyone else on the board. Their phones ring flat out the next day. So you have anyone who, generally it's all about guys who've had life experiences, because that's such a powerful thing to watch and listen to hear someone talk about what they went through. Because there's inevitably someone in the crowd, it will relate to them, be it through depression, through anxiety, through drug-related, alcohol-related, loss of partner, other men that they know who have tried to commit suicide. It's a range of things. But when you listen and watch someone go through that, it inspires men, and men have told me who have stood up. It's inspired them to get up and talk about their own stuff that they, like the night we had at Mitcham, we had a young guy stand up and talk about how he had thought about taking his own life. He was 26, and I said to him, why do you want to take your own life? He said, because I've had a couple of mates do it, and I'm really, really struggling. I don't know what to do. And I said, who are you here with? And he pointed to his friend. So he's there with one other guy. And I said to him, do you have a partner or a girlfriend or a wife? And he goes, I've got a fiance. And I said, does she know? And he went, no. And I went, hang on. You're only here with one other guy. You've just stood up in front of 163 guys you don't know and told that story. I said, why'd you do this? And he pointed to a guy on the stage, and he said him. And that guy happened to be Luke Richards, who has had a couple of attempts. He's one of our ambassadors, has had a couple of attempts at his own life due to bullying and alcohol addiction. And he said, because of him. That's why he stood up and told that story. And this guy's fiance rang me the next day and just thanked me and said, thank you so much for, everything 100 words mate to mate does. And, he would never have spoken to me about it. So don't thank me. Thank the guy who took him. He's the real hero, because he knew something was wrong. And that's why he took him to the event. And mate, I could sit here for the next 3 days and tell you stories about men that have that we've interviewed and have told their stories. As I said before, mate, if you give guys the vehicle, they will talk. Absolutely.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, Turts. And I remember another example was where one of the brothers was worried about his own brother.
Yeah.
And that was a really, really powerful story. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, a good friend of mine, Mark Lambert, he won't mind me saying his name. Yeah, Lambo. Yeah, his brother was really, really struggling. And both of there's 4 brothers, and yeah, they didn't know how to. They all had different sort of relationships with him, and none of them really knew how to talk about it. And eventually, they did, and it all worked out. But they all really, really struggled in different ways. It's not an easy topic to talk about. But when you do, and when you get a positive outcome, it does something to you. It does something to you where you go, okay, that made a difference. And you don't have to solve the problem. And this is the misconception with a lot of guys. Or if I ring Tomo, I've got to solve his problems. No, you don't. No, you don't. You just need to listen. You were given 2 ears and 1 mouth. Just use your 2 ears and listen. Those people who are struggling inevitably just want someone to listen to them and not impose your story or what's happened to you. You ask them, how does that make you feel, mate? When you're going through this, whatever you're going through, how does that make you feel? So you have to take yourself out of it, and it needs to be about them. You just need to listen and then encourage them to do things like go and get a mental health plan. I give guys my number, mate. You can ring me anytime and I will pick up. I know you've done that. You and I have had conversations about that. So yeah, I encourage everyone to just ask that question. It's such an important thing to ask.
It is literally life-saving and life-changing. And not only for the fellow who's going through whatever he may well be having to deal with, but also for the guys that are asking the question. You just feel so much better about yourself. Because I think all of us sometimes we're so caught up in our own heads and our own stuff. And we're so busy taking from the day, but we're not investing in the day into others. What are some of the stats, Turts, around men's health, men's mental health?
Just 7 men take their own life every day in this country. Every day,
That's
7 men.
So it's 7 a day.
Yeah, like last year, 2019, 3,318 guys, 18 people, I should say, took their own life. 2/3 of that were men. And it's just gone down in 2020. It's gone down to 3,139. So it's actually come down, which is quite surprising in regards to the times that we're going through with COVID. But I have a theory on that. I have a theory is it's gone down because it's more acceptable now in 2021 to talk about what we're talking about. Because years ago, it wasn't. Okay? You and I both grew up, I know I grew up in a household where it was like, suck it up, mate. You'll be right. Come on.
Same.
Yeah. And a lot of guys our age did. And that's changed. It's not like that anymore. A lot of young guys that we present to, I was at a footy club a couple of months ago, and those guys want to talk about it. The senior guys, not as much. The younger guys, absolutely. So I think it's more encouraged, and it's that stigma around talking about mental health is dissipating because it's not a frowned upon. Like, it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually extremely strong and to show some vulnerability. And, the stat, I talk about all the time, and this one frightens me every time I say it. The biggest killer of men in this country between 15 and 44 is themselves. Now, you and I are just outside that 44, right? But we know so many people that are inside that 15 to 44. And to think that what's going to kill them more often than not is themselves. Like I find that hard to even say. So it's incumbent upon me, with no education, no formal education around mental health, it's incumbent upon me to do something about it. That's how I feel. And I know you do the same. That's why we do what we do. To help and try and encourage more men to speak out about what's going on in here, and more importantly, what's going on in here. I think also that because that stigma has lessened, and there's so many more avenues now, like this Lifeline, Headspace, Black Dog Institute, Beyond Blue, Movember, this Lifeline, 24 Help, Men's Service, Men's Shed. There's so many out there that you can ring up anonymously and talk to someone. But we think that men, all our mates play that role as well. We should be able to ring our mates, but that's where a lot of people think, I don't want to ring my mates. I'd rather ring a stranger, and talk to them. And I have guys all the time ringing me saying, I saw the website or I saw an interview you did. Have you got 5 minutes to talk? Absolutely. I don't know them from a bar of soap. Never. Some of the other stats, Lifeline receive a phone call every 30 seconds. That's frightening. But I think that's good that people are ringing. There's a lot more people struggling, don't get me wrong, but people are ringing at the same time, which is really, really important. 65,000 people a year attempt to take their own life. That's staggering.
65,000 people a year in Australia.
In Australia, attempt to take their own life.
That is a staggering number, and it's
frightening.
Absolutely frightening. And both of us, and I reckon probably anyone on this listening, I'm sure has been in some way, whether it's a buddy from school. I mean, my background, 4 of my mates from school. It's one of the things that inspired me to start Saving Brothers. 4 of my buddies, great guys, that I knew from, say, 13 years of age, from the age of probably for anywhere these guys were, say, from the age of 18 to 33. 4 of them made the decision to end their lives.
Yep. It's
sorry.
No, you go. Yeah, I think, and it affects so many people. Like, I spoke at a Mother's Day event the week after Mother's Day, and I'm the only guy in the room, and there was another guest speaker there talking about breast cancer. And anyway, so I stand up and I said, "Put your hand up if you're wondering what I'm doing here." And a few women put their hand up. They're like, "Yeah, what are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm here to talk about men's health." And one woman said, "But this is a Mother's Day event. We're talking about women." Yep. Who's left to pick up the pieces after a man, a dad, a father, an uncle, a brother, a cousin, a nephew, or a son
The son,
commits suicide? Who's left?
it's
You
always
women
the
in the
women.
room. You women in the room are left. Okay? Put your hand up if you've got dad, father, husband, uncle, brother, everyone. So it affects you. Okay? And the biggest killer of men in this country between 15 and 44 is themselves. And one woman said to me, "Is that true? Is it?" Yep. You can go to any, you get a Beyond Blue, Movember, Lifeline, and it's on there. That's the stat, Bureau of Statistics. And so that's why I'm here. It's really, really important for women to understand and look at. Now, women are much better at communicating and asking questions. But I said to them, "Okay, put your hand up if you've got a young guy in your life who, when you go, okay, mate, how was school or how was work?" "Yeah, good." "What did you learn?" "Nothing." "What'd you do at work?" "Nothing." Who gets that? All the room, every woman in the room puts a hand up. Okay, if you said to your husband, "How was work today, babe?" "Oh, yeah, good." Where'd you go? Where'd you work?" "Oh, such and such." "Yeah." What about if you changed it and said, "Hey, babe, how was your day out of 10?" Or you said to your son, "Hey, mate, how was your day out of 10?" "What do you mean, mum?" "Oh, well, how was it?" "Oh, probably an 8." "Okay, why was it an 8, mate? Tell me." It just starts conversation, because you're not going to go, "Oh, 8," and go, "Oh, that's it." It doesn't finish there. It just promotes conversation all the time. And I've had so many women ring me up and going, it's changed our relationship, because I ask him every day when he comes home, "How's your day out of 10?" And he goes, "Oh, today was crap, babe. Today was a 4 because of this." And he gets to vent. And he feels better. I feel better because I know why he's angry and upset. And we move on. And that's one of the biggest things I've learned out of this. And we might touch on that later, but I want to say it now because it revolves around this message is, when I came on before and I said I was a 6.5, I tell this story all the time. What you got to do when you get home as a guy is this: drive in the driveway and stop the car. Just stop. Just sit in the car, okay, and evaluate where you are and say to yourself, "All right, like for me, all right, Turts, get home, 6 o'clock. All right, where am I out of 10? I'm whatever it might be. Why? Why am I that? Am I a 4 because I did something wrong, or am I a 4 because someone else did something wrong to me?" And evaluate the day. All right, if I'm a 4, if I'm a 4 or 5, I can't take that 4 and 5 inside, because my beautiful wife and my 2 girls might be having a 9 or a 10, and I can't take my crap in there and wreck their day. So I park whatever it is in the car. I can't do anything about the day. That's gone. All right? So it's what I do from this point on. Walk in the door at 6 o'clock. So if I've walked in the door at a 5 and I've left the 5 in the car, then it's like, you know what? I need to try and get to an 8 or a 9. What can I do as a husband or a dad between now and when I put my head on the pillow? It's just a different mindset. It's a totally different mindset, and it works. I do it every day, and I swear by it. I absolutely swear by it. And it changes everything. It's incumbent on me to leave my crap in the car. It works.
I
I'm telling
love
you.
it. I've heard others say the same thing in a different way. Hang your troubles on the tree outside before you
Yeah,
open the front door.
absolutely. Because we inevitably take out our crap on those that we love. Okay, because it's sort of a lot of our families sometimes are punching bags for us in a sense. Let me clarify that. In regards to emotionally, you can say things in the four walls that you probably might not say outside those. So if you can have, like, my kids run, how's your day out of 10 every night at the dinner table. We go around in circles. And it inevitably ends in tears from time to time because one of them will say, "Oh, I had a 3 today," and I'm like, "Why'd you have a 3, kiddo?" "Oh, because of this," and we talk about why it's a 3. And then as a parent, you can gauge, okay, gee, she told me something similar to that last week, and that was a 6. So, but it just promotes conversation about, how things are actually going. And then I and my wife are extremely honest about how we feel too. Like if I'm having a really bad day, I say, I'm a 4 today because of, or I'm angry because of. Um, and the kids understand. Like they're 10 and 12 and they get it. They absolutely get it.
I
So
think it's such a powerful tool. On a lighter note, Turts, I told you this one the other day when I walked into one of our local cafes that you and I both frequent, and I asked George, the barista,
Georgie.
"Hey, brother, how's your day going out of 10?" And he said, "Oh, I got another bloke that comes in and asks me the same question."
Yeah. Like cafe owners are classics, right? So they see so many people, different people every day. A lot of them are regulars. So they know their coffee. So I've got, Georgie does it. Another mate of mine, Johnny, down the road at Steam, he'll say to someone randomly, "Yeah, mate," they'll give their coffee order. You go, "Yeah, mate, how's your day going out of 10?" And it might be 7 o'clock in the morning. And they'll go, oh, good. No, out of 10, how are you going so far? Oh, look, I'm probably going all right. I went for a run this morning and on my way to work. I'm an 8. And people just start thinking, okay, well, I'm an 8 out of 10. That's a good start to the day, isn't it? So, yeah, it's amazing how it works. It's incredible.
I just love it. What have you got coming up for 100 words? Have you got events planned? And then part 2 of that question is I want men, if they want to be able to get involved, whether they can potentially run an event, how can they get involved? Now, bear in mind, we're only in Australia at the moment. So, tell me what's coming
Yes.
up, do you reckon, in the next 6 months?
So we've just started putting men through mental health first aid plans. Or first aid training, I should say. So we do all the money we raise goes into that, paying for men to do those courses. So our first batch of 20 guys is about to do that, which we're really looking forward to. I've done the course and it's fantastic.
And
It's
tell us
really,
about
really
that
good.
course. Sorry to interrupt you, Ted.
No, that's right.
What will a man come out of? What skill set will he have?
Awareness and triggers to ask questions and listen. Listening's the most powerful thing of all time, right? Listening's the key to what you talk about, what I talk about. The key is to listen. But it makes you more aware of signs with your work colleagues, with your mates, guys who, particularly with COVID, they're sort of escaping. They're not coming to as many Zooms as they might have because we can't see each other. So guys and girls stepping away from outings. And that's why running events is such an important part of what we do. And it's been really, really hard for us. We've also got a psychologist on board who sees all our members for free. He bulk bills, sees all our members for free. We've had in excess of 50 guys, some for the first time, go and see Lawrence. Never had been to a psychologist or psychiatrist before and gone for the first time. Some of them gone 2, 3 times. Some have gone for 15 times because that's what they needed to do. So to be able to supply that service for men is such a powerful tool. Takes all the stigma away. Plenty of times, Lawrence is only down the road, 10 minutes down the road from where I live. And I've met guys have rung me and said, "Hey, Turts, I can't go in. I've made the booking. I'm here. I just can't go in." That's fine. It's okay. So you've just done 2 things you've never done before. You made the phone call to go and you've rocked up. I'll meet you there next week. And I've met them there and gone in. So we do that. So in the next 6 months, we've got a couple of events planned, but dates, we don't have dates because we don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to probably start we did a barbecue series last year called Meat to Mate. So where we had our local butcher, good friend of ours, put a pack together and he would teach you. So I would host from my house. He was at his house. And we would teach you how to cook a porterhouse steak, which is about 1.5 inches thick, 450 grams. The thing was like this. It was magnificent. And then we would just talk about, we'd go around, how's your day out of 10, and just talk about that. And inevitably, guys would bring out their mates. They'd come week 1 and they'd go, "Gee, this is a really easy way for me to ask, for example, how Davo's doing." So he'd invite Davo the next week and we do that. So we're probably going to do that again during summer. But yeah, being essentially an event-based program, apart from doing mental health first aid courses, yeah, running the events is the key to us. Absolute
Absolutely.
key.
And one of the great men of 100 Words, a huge supporter, is Andy Reid, and he's putting
Yeah,
a comment there. You are a rock star legend, brother. Chaps, rock and roll gang. Now, we have to get Andy on because, as you know, he has his own show, particularly during COVID, and that was
yeah,
the whole The Silver Lining. And, mate, you are an absolute gentleman yourself, Reedy. He's done such a great service for the real estate industry
yeah.
when agents could not get out. I think, quite frankly, his live broadcast probably saved a lot of people, and I don't say that lightly. It
Yeah,
was
there's no
like
doubt about that.
it
He's been a
was unbelievable.
shining light for that industry for such a long time. So, Andy, I met Andy at the Mitcham event. Never met Andy before in my life. He was asked by one of the other guys to come and run the auction for us. So he's this guy, tall, lanky guy, gets up,
Pommy, don't forget he's a
yeah,
pom.
hell of an accent. I don't know, only understood 3 words he said, but of the guys who stood up, those 9 guys that stood up, he was the last guy to stand up. I remember walking back to the stage, and he said to me, "I'll have a go," and I just turned around. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he spilled his guts for the first time. Now, Andy will tell you this that changed everything for Andy. Now, I've interviewed Andy on the show that we did. He's an unbelievable individual who has been through such a hell of a time. And he won't mind me saying this, he lost his dad last year, and everything that he's learned through his journey, he put into place. It was like, as he explains, it's like doing all this preseason training, and then when the event comes that you need all those skills, it's there. And he's someone that works on himself, puts a lot of time and effort to himself, and it pays dividend. He's an unbelievable human being, Andy Reid, and and I'm sure you are greater for knowing him. He's an amazing man and
Oh,
helps
not
a
only
lot of
does he
people.
inspire, but Andy walks. He absolutely not. He walks his talk. And you and I both know of a brother that's copped a bit of flack recently, and
Yeah,
we spoke about that the other day. And I left Andy a message on his phone because I think it's very easy to pay lip service, but when the chips are down, you know who your friends are. There's a
yeah,
great song. My father's a jazz musician, and there's a song, very famous jazz song called "Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out." Everybody's your best mate when you got money and you're flying, but when the chips are down and you're struggling, it's guys like Andy Reid and yourself,
yeah.
Turts, that you can rely on, and you go, well, there's a bloke I'd go to war with. You know what I mean? That's an important thing to have blokes like him in this community. And having caught up with Andy, in fact, my property show, I've had him on as a guest twice, and we've talked about real estate and mental health. So absolute pleasure. And Andy, mate, I will make sure we get you on very soon because I think you've got so much to offer. And the bottom line is he actually really does care a lot about humans. So
Yeah.
really appreciate your comments, brother. So for the brothers out there, Turts, how can they find 100 Words? How can they register for an event if they need help, whether it be with Lawrence or whatever? What's the best way for them to follow, to communicate, to be updated on what's coming up?
Just go to the website, mate. Go to www.100words.org.au and send us an email. Mate, I do this all the time. I give out my number. My number is 0412310788. If anyone needs to talk about anything, I will pick up the phone. Simple
And
as
if you
that.
can't remember that number, brothers, you can always message me. You know I'm always available on Messenger. You guys, you can see why I want to hitch my wagon right alongside this fella, because the things that it's interesting, we got scuttled for a while with COVID, but when I've been talking, guys, for some time about bringing events out and doing stuff with other groups, this is the guy, this is the man. And I'll get you, Reedy. I'm sure you'll get involved as well. That we want to just work with great people that absolutely care about other humans. And mate, you are you're the epitome of that.
Mate, thank you so much. I think the key about tonight is you don't need to be educated in men's mental health or mental health in general to do what we do. Okay. So it's all about encouraging guys to talk about what they're going through other guys in real life experiences, and just take away the stigma about talking about it, because we're in a different time than when you and I grew up, and more men are encouraged to talk about it. And it's watching things like this and doing what you do at Saving Brothers and what we do at 100 Words that encourages more and more men to talk about it. And just one thing with our events, inevitably, it's been about 20-25% of people who book to come to our events are women. So I remember one of our board members said to me, "Hey, we've had like 25% of people who have booked tickets are women. This is a men's only event." I said, "I guarantee you, they're not ringing for them to come. They're ringing for their husbands, partners, and boyfriends." And sure enough, I ran them all and said, what's the story? They said, "Oh no, we just want our husband to come because a friend of ours' husband came, and we think our husband should go." Fine.
And it's so true, because my previous girlfriend was the one that said, "You need to get involved in this, Phil." I was
Classic
struggling, if you remember,
Yep.
and she rang, and I'm always indebted to her, and a great human, by the way, really lovely lady. Rang Maddie, and Maddie said, "It's sold out," and you snuck me in the back door.
Yep.
And always grateful for that. But there's a perfect example. Yeah, it's women that pick up the phone because they care.
Yeah, I get after our first event, I got stopped in the schoolyard picking up the kids by quite a number of women saying, "My husband didn't respond to the email, and he didn't come to the event. But next time you run an event, please send the email to me, and I will book a ticket." And that's exactly what happened. And that goes back to a lot of what we do. We don't. The idea is not to get guys drunk and send them home, because then their partner will never want them to come. We've had plenty of women email us and send messages to not only myself, but the other board members and co-founders about experiences that their husbands have had, and they've gone home and the conversation at home has changed because of the event that they came to, because they've seen what's happened, and it's been more accepting about talking about your feelings. So, yeah, no different to you guys, mate. Women play a huge role. I get that question all the time. What role do women play? Huge. Yep. Absolutely huge.
Totally agree. And I'm really pumped, mate. You're reinvigorating me. I'm so proud of you, excited about the opportunities to us to partner together. And by the way, we're the things that we want to do, we just want to create awareness. So
yeah, exactly.
If we can help one fella know how he can help himself and be a better human, then I think we've done our job. Mate, it's been a pleasure. Is there anything else you want to say before we wind up?
Just a lot of guys out there who are struggling. I got told this the other day. Try this. When you're feeling really crap and you're really, really down and you sort of can't get out of your own way and you don't know what to do, go do something else for someone else for free. Simply go and mow your neighbor's lawn, go and wash your neighbor's car, go and do something for someone else. And it will automatically send off a truckload of endorphins that run through you, okay? And you will feel better about yourself and what you did. And that person will feel better that you did something for them. It's such a simple thing to do. It'll cost you nothing, okay? And you will feel $1 million about it. Now, I've had guys tell me that they've done that when they're, might be having a 3 or a 4. And I always say, go do something for someone else for free.
Yeah, mate, I've said that many times myself in Saving Brothers. When we take the focus off ourselves and think, what can I do for somebody else? Correct. It was just the other day. It was just a tiny little thing. I was in the street and I was walking along, and this old lady, I've spoken to her on one of the other podcasts we had, it was a little Greek lady. The bin was too heavy. She couldn't move it out onto the street, and she wasn't really fluent in English, Turts. And I could see what she wanted. And it was just, I could just see that she just felt validated, that he was a fella that was prepared to stop walking his dog grabbed the bins, help her, and just left her with a smile. And she was so grateful. And who do you reckon also felt $1 million?
Oh, absolutely. And because that sends off all these endorphins in you, it's no different than going to the gym. Like you go to the gym because it makes you feel good. You do something for someone else that makes you feel good. You're just more likely to do it again, aren't you? And the impact that has on that other person is huge. So, yeah, mate, look, thank you so much for the opportunity. Mate, thanks for the opportunity. You and I have talked about this for a while. We're big admirers, the board and I, and the co-founders are big admirers about, they all met you on the night at Mitcham. And to think about what you've created since that night, which is only, what is it? Maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years tops, is nothing short of extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. And there's only you. We've got a board of 7 and 5 co-founders, and we know how much time and effort it takes. It's all voluntary, and mate, it's a real privilege for me to watch what you've done in the same space. And mate, I couldn't be happier coming on tonight. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time.
Turts, I've been excited about it. Like I said, you inspire. You give me rocket fuel to want to keep going. It really does. And guys, when you give comments to guys like Turts and I, it really does give us an impetus to want to keep going and making a difference. And if you want to get involved with any of Turts' events, or you're not sure, or you want to contact me, I can put you in touch with Craig and the team. We'll certainly be involved with their events, and I'll really excited, mate, and absolute privilege to know you and to be involved. And thanks for always being so open and honest, brother.
Mate, happy to. This sort of stuff is a real passion for me, and I love doing this stuff. And I know this stuff makes a difference to people, and it's cost me nothing to be here with you. I've loved every minute of it. And you and I said when you asked me to do this show, I said, is this going to be like a mini series? Because you and I could go about this and make a difference for the next, we could be once a week, easy. So, mate, thanks for having me. I really, really appreciate your time.
No, likewise, Turks. All right, well, I'll catch up with you very soon. Brothers, take care. Always don't forget to ask others, hey, brother, how's your day going out of 10? And take care of yourselves and each other out there. Turks, we'll catch up really soon. Bye for now.
Keep 5 alive.
Keep 5 alive.